scary. This is what we call a Plaud chip. It can record all of your meeting, all of your conversation, all of your phone calls with this one little chip. Nothing has to be left to interpretation again. Here's the steps. Take this chip and you connect it to the back of your phone. This is actually removable and it has a MagSafe. Then we press a button to turn the chip on and you see that there's a little green light. Then I go into the app and I press the record button. Now when you have meetings, Zoom calls, this app is going to record your entire conversation. After clicking the save button, then we click on transcript. Now we can take the conversation that was just recorded and I'm gonna start transcribing. You have no reason to even write full notes anymore. You don't want to get taken advantage of and you don't want to take advantage of people. It also gives me summary points.
Imagine a world where every word you speak can be used against you tomorrow. Imagine knowing that one wrong sentence, one misinterpreted joke, one emotional outburst could cost you your job, your reputation, your freedom. Now imagine that the people most likely to weaponize those words have spent years telling you that you're the dangerous one. That's the world men woke up to. And instead of begging for the rules to change, men quietly changed the game completely. Today, I'm going to show you the silent revolution that almost no one is talking about. How men flipped the script so hard that women are now the ones panicking. And why by the time most people figure out what happened, it will already be too late to go back. Stick with me to the end because the final piece of this puzzle is the darkest and most inevitable of all. If you get value from hard-hitting truth like this, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, subscribe, and click the notification bell, and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We're building the largest awake male community on this platform, and I refuse to let the algorithm bury this message. Also, if you want to learn how to actually protect your wealth in this collapsing system, how to buy, sell, and trade crypto, the one asset class the state can't easily confiscate, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. The full link is in the description. Thousands of men are already in there safeguarding their future while the fiat world burns. Click it, join us, thank me later. And if you're enjoying these videos and you want to keep the Red Bulls flowing so I can stay sharp and keep pumping these out, there's a link in the description where you can buy me a Red Bull. Every little bit keeps the war chest full. Now let's get into it.
It is perfectly legal to secretly record a conversation so long as one party consents. This is a state-by-state issue, but here in New York, we operate by the one-party consent rule. This means that you can be the consenting party even if the other person doesn't know that you're recording the conversation.
Men are secretly recording everything. Every conversation on a date, every interaction at work, every casual chat while buying groceries, every word spoken to a doctor or nurse. And women are losing their minds over it. New AI devices like the Plaud note, tiny little pins, or credit card-sized recorders that transcribe in real time are selling like crazy. You can't see them, you can't hear them, and they never run out of battery when you need them most. Men are wearing these things every single day because men finally realized something women have known for decades. In 2025, your words are evidence, and the person most likely to use them against you is the one smiling across the table. Women spent years telling men that a single accusation is enough to end a life. No evidence required, no due process needed, just vibes and a tearful TikTok. And for a long time, men had no defense. You either trusted her or you lost everything on the hope she was telling the truth. But trust is a luxury men can no longer afford. So men did the logical thing. They started gathering receipts. Constantly, quietly, legally questionable in some places. Maybe. Worth the risk when the alternative is total ruin? Absolutely.
Hey, I recorded our conversation last night. You mind if I play it back for us? Why in the hell did you feel the need to record our conversation? Because I want you to hear what you said to me last night, because I know you're going to deny it. The fact that you felt the need to record me is a huge red flag in the first place. I agree it's a red flag. Red flag for who though? For me, obviously, because if you felt the need to record me, that means you don't even trust what you have to say. Your memory is shot. A red flag for you? Because I record you to prove that you lie? That recording is more about you than it is about me. Because I haven't recorded you. Because I don't lie to you. You don't have a reason to record me.
Think about this from a pure risk reward perspective. If I record a 3-hour dinner date and she later claims I said something I didn't, I pull up the transcript and the audio and the case dies before it starts. If I don't record and she lies, I lose my job, my friends, maybe my freedom. The math is brutally simple. The consequences of not recording are now infinitely worse than the consequences of recording. So men record every single time.
The Gaslight Blocker 5000. That's the name. This is a Plaud note pen. This actually records and transcribes everything that it hears. It captures full conversations and turns them into text so you can catch anyone slipping. And this thing comes with accessories. So however you want to go about your business, you got a wrist holder, you got a necklace holder, you got a pin holder. However. Or I guess if you're a college student or something and want to record lectures or, a to-do list or something, you could do that too. Oh, and it has unlimited cloud storage, so this thing will never run out. Ever. Just continue to record and goes up to the cloud. Work smarter, not harder.
And here's what makes women furious. There's almost nothing they can do about it. The device can sit in a shirt pocket, completely invisible. Even if she asks point blank, "Are you recording me?" the only rational answer is no, because telling the truth gives away the only shield you have. If things go south later and the recording saves your life, any decent lawyer will argue it was justified under the circumstances, and in most places, the courts will agree that preserving evidence of innocence outweighs technical violations of wiretap laws. The precedent already exists. Men are not gambling with their future anymore. They are ensuring it. This is the ultimate reversal. Women built a system where male denial of wrongdoing was treated as proof of guilt. Now men have flipped it. Female denial of wrongdoing is about to be treated as irrelevant because the truth is saved on a micro SD card. Women are entering an era where every word they say, every snide comment, every threat, every manipulation can and will be used against them in the court of HR, law enforcement, and public opinion. And the craziest part, most of them still don't realize the rules changed while they were busy celebrating their power. Welcome to the age of zero trust. Men no longer assume good intent. Men no longer give the benefit of the doubt. Men now assume every woman is a potential threat until proven otherwise, and the proving otherwise phase never actually comes because trust is dead. Women spent decades telling men they were dangerous predators who needed to be watched, controlled, and punished preemptively. Men listened, and now men are watching all the time with 4K audio and perfect transcripts. This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition finally being allowed to do its job. Men watched good men get destroyed on nothing but a story. They watched the news cheer it on. They watched the laws get changed to make it easier. And then they watched the same voices that destroyed those men turn around and say not all women when someone suggested basic precautions. So men took precautions anyway, extreme ones, because the alternative was extinction, and women hate it. They're making TikToks screaming about privacy while completely ignoring the irony that they spent years demanding men live under constant surveillance in the workplace, on campus, and online. They wanted body cameras on cops. Men put body cameras on themselves. They wanted everything documented so no man could ever deny anything again. Men documented everything so no woman can falsely accuse them ever again. Be careful what you wish for. The result is a complete behavioral shift. Men now treat every interaction like a deposition. Short answers, no jokes that could be clipped out of context, no compliments that could be reframed as harassment. Like no emotional investment that could be weaponized later. Women are noticing. They're complaining that men have become cold, distant, guarded. They're making videos asking why men don't flirt anymore, why men don't open up, why men walk away the second the vibe feels even slightly off. The answer is simple, because opening up gets you fired, flirting gets you viral shamed, and sticking around when the vibe is off gets you accused. Women created a world where male vulnerability is punished more harshly than almost any crime. Men adapted by removing vulnerability entirely. And now women are shocked that the emotional support they used to extract for free has vanished overnight. But this is only the surface level of what's actually happening. The recording phenomenon is just one symptom of a much larger exodus. Men are not just protecting themselves legally, they are removing themselves entirely from dating, from marriage, from friendship, from mentorship, from society itself. And they're doing it at a scale that is historically unprecedented. By 2030, in the United States alone, 45% of women aged 25, 44 will be single and childless. When you add single mothers, that number explodes to 60 to 70%. That's not a dating problem. That's a demographic catastrophe. And it's not happening because women suddenly decided they don't want families. It's happening because men decided the risk is no longer worth the reward. And unlike women, when men walk away, they actually leave. No drama, no begging to be chased. They just gone. Look at South Korea for the blueprint. Everyone talks about the 4B movement, women swearing off dating, marriage, sex, and childbirth with men. The media presents it as the main driver of the world's lowest birth rate. Total nonsense. The real driver is men. South Korean men watched feminism turn their country into a legal minefield, and they responded with ruthless compliance. Women complained men were harassing them by asking them out too many times. Men supported a law that makes it harassment after 3 attempts. Women suddenly realized they couldn't play the usual rejection games anymore because men would literally stop approaching to avoid jail. Women complained men were gatekeeping careers. Men agreed and started openly prioritize other men for promotions, mentorship, and networking while competing brutally against women. Women complained that TV comedies were problematic. Men agreed and pushed to remove all edgy humor, making the shows unwatchable. Men had already stopped watching anyway. The result? Women got exactly what they demanded and discovered it was poison when men actually complied. This model is now exporting globally. Japan, China, Eastern Europe, the United States, the UK, Australia, everywhere you look, men are doing the same thing, agreeing with women, then following the new rules so precisely that women are the ones who suffer most. The technical term for this is malicious compliance, but I prefer to call it weaponized logic. And women have no countermove because the system they built to control men is now being used to exclude them. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Men are building parallel societies, crypto economies, barter networks, private gyms, invite only professional circles, overseas communities, all male masterminds, mesh communication systems that don't rely on big tech. Women are not invited, not out of spite, out of survival. When every interaction carries life ruining risk, the only rational move is to reduce points of contact to zero. Women traded male provision and protection for the promise of state provision and protection. They got the state, and the state is broke. The same governments that told women they didn't need men are now admitting they can't fund the social safety net anymore. The money printer is smoking, pensions are collapsing, inflation is crushing the middle class, and the men who used to subsidize everything through taxes and emotional labor are gone fishing, literally and figuratively. Single men are the happiest demographic in America right now. Their savings rates are skyrocketing. Their stress levels are plummeting. They're paying less in taxes because they're working fewer hours and keeping more for themselves. And they're pouring that money into assets the state can't easily seize. Crypto, precious metals, skills, land overseas, private networks. Meanwhile, women are discovering that independence feels a lot like isolation when the rent is due and there's no one to call. Restaurants are dying because men stopped taking women on dates. High-end venues are empty on Friday nights. Gyms are closing locations because the majority of serious members, men, left to train at home or in private facilities. Bars and clubs are filled with tables of women waiting for men who never show up because men realized buying $18 cocktails for strangers who despise them is a bad investment. Even the adult industry is collapsing for women. AI is already replacing OnlyFans models faster than anyone predicted. The same women who bragged about making bank online are about to be out of work while men pivot to new decentralized income streams women can't access. This isn't revenge. This is consequences. Women spent 50 years telling men they were obsolete, toxic, unnecessary. Men believe them. And when men believe something, they act on it completely. There is no half measure with men once the trust is gone. We don't linger. We don't negotiate. We don't hope you'll change your mind. We build a new life without you and never look back. And that's the most devastating part for women. Men are at peace with it. For the first time in history, millions of men are discovering what life feels like without the constant background radiation of female expectations. No more walking on eggshells. No more financial hemorrhage. No more performative masculinity to keep someone else comfortable. Just peace, silence, savings, and strength. Women are making desperate videos. Where have all the good men gone? The good men listened when you said you didn't need them. They're home, lifting, stacking crypto, eating steak, and sleeping 8 hours a night. They're not hiding. They're just done performing for an audience that booed them off stage. The script has flipped so completely that women are now the ones begging for male attention while men treat it like a spam call, decline, and move on with their day. And there is no way back from this. You can't shame a man into risking everything for people who celebrate his destruction. You can't tax a man who no longer participates in your economy. You can't regulate a man who moved his wealth to jurisdictions you don't control and his body to countries where women still value masculinity. The era of blind trust is over. The era of recorded reality has begun. Women are about to learn what men learned the hard way. When you make normal human interaction too dangerous for one gender, that gender will leave. And when men leave, they don't come back. And the worst part for women is that they still don't see the cliff they're standing on. They think this is a phase. They think men are just going through something. They think if they make enough tearful TikToks, shame men enough, or pass a few more laws, the good old days will come back when men lined up to pay their bills and absorb their chaos. They are wrong, dead wrong. This is not a phase. This is the new permanent reality. And it is hardening by the day. Men are not angry anymore. That's what women keep missing. Anger would imply we still care enough to fight. Anger requires emotional investment. Most men have moved past anger into cold, crystalline clarity. We looked at the contract society offered us: provide, protect, perform, pay. And in exchange, maybe you won't be destroyed on a whim. And we quietly tore it up. No shouting, no protest, no begging for fair treatment, just a mass exodus so complete that entire industries are collapsing before anyone in power even noticed the men were gone. Look at the data. Male labor participation keeps dropping. Male college enrollment is in the West has fallen off a cliff. Male marriage rates are in free fall. Male friendship with women is now statistically rarer than male friendship with extraterrestrials. And every single one of those trends is accelerating, not slowing. This is not a tantrum. This is a migration. Women keep asking, where have all the good men gone? While standing in the exact spot where they told those men to disappear. The good men listened. They went where they are treated best. Some went overseas to countries where femininity is still celebrated instead of criminalized. Some went into crypto and built wealth outside the reach of family courts. Some went into home gyms and private brotherhoods. Some went full nomad with a backpack and a passport. and millions simply went quiet, stacked their money, lifted their iron, and learned to enjoy their own company for the first time in their lives. The silence is deafening, and it is permanent. Women are now discovering that independence is actually extremely expensive when nobody is subsidizing it anymore. Rent doesn't care about your girl boss affirmations. Groceries don't accept exposure as payment. Student loans don't get erased because you posted a selfie with the caption, "Living my truth." And the state that promised to replace male provision is flat broke. The same governments that spent decades telling women, "You don't need a man," are now openly admitting they can't afford to keep the lights on. Never mind, fund the lifestyle women were promised. The average single woman today has less disposable income, worse mental health markers, higher debt loads, and lower life satisfaction than her grandmother, who never had a corporate job in her life. Let that sink in. All of the rights, all the progress, all the slogans, and the net result is a generation of women who are objectively worse off than the housewives of the 1950s they were taught to look down on. The experiment has been run. The data is in. Trading male protection for state protection was the worst trade in human history. And men are not coming to the rescue this time. That's the part women still can't process. For thousands of years, men have played the role of first responder when women screamed for help. Wars were fought, empires were built, cities were raised from the dirt because men heard a female voice say, "Save me," and dropped everything to make it happen. That instinct been weaponized against men for 2 generations straight. Every time women cried wolf, men showed up ready to slay dragons and discovered the dragon was just a shadow cast by their own lies. After enough cycles of that, the instinct dies. It doesn't weaken. It doesn't take a vacation. It dies. And once it's dead, it does not come back. That's where we are now. The male protective instinct toward Western women has flatlined. You can see it in real time on social media. Woman posts a video crying that her electrician charged her double because she's a single woman with no man to negotiate for her. And the comment section is a sea of men saying, "Let the bear fix your wiring then." Woman posts that she can't afford groceries and rent on her master's degree salary. And the top comments are men telling her to take it up with the strong, independent energy she bragged about last year. There is no sympathy left. There is only observation of consequences. This is what ruthless compliance looks like when it's scaled to millions of men simultaneously. Women demanded equality, so men gave it to them. They said they wanted to compete in the workplace, so men started competing like their lives depended on it and stopped carrying dead weight. They said they didn't want male protection, so men withdrew protection completely. They said male attention was harassment, so men removed their attention entirely. They said male provision was patriarchal oppression, so men stopped providing. Every single demand been met with perfect compliance, and the result is the slowest motion societal collapse you will ever witness. And it's spreading faster than any ideology in history because it doesn't require meetings, leaders, or manifestos. It only requires individual men looking at the risk-reward ratio and choosing peace over performance. Once a man experiences true peace for the first time, no amount of shaming, legislation, or tearful TikToks will ever drag him back into the cage. You can't negotiate with a man who has already won by walking away. That's why the birth rate collapse is not fixable. You can't bribe men back into a burning building. You can't shame men into volunteering for a war that is already lost. You can't guilt men into subsidizing a system that celebrates their destruction. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze, and men have discovered that the juice was poison anyway. Women are now waking up to the fact that the state was never their husband. The state was their pimp. It told them they were liberated while quietly turning them into the most heavily taxed, heavily regulated, heavily surveilled demographic in history. It encouraged them to trade their peak fertility years for corporate cubicles and student debt. It convinced them that casual sex with zero consequences was empowerment, while quietly destroying their ability to pair bond. It pushed them into debt fueled consumerism and called it freedom. And the entire time, it was harvesting their labor, their votes, and their future children to keep the machine running a little longer. Now the machine is sputtering, the debt is coming due, and the men who used to keep the whole thing afloat are nowhere to be found. The parallel economies men are building are not theoretical. They are live right now. Crypto wallets that no government can freeze, private barter networks where a plumber trades work for a mechanic's labor, and neither reports a dime to the tax man. Invite only discords and telegram groups where six-figure remote jobs are shared between brothers only. Private land purchases in low regulation countries where a man can build a compound and live like a king on a Western remote salary. Mesh networks that root around censorship. Home gyms that cost less than 2 years of commercial gym membership. Seed banks, solar setups, water filtration, and skill sharing that make men anti fragile while the grid collapses. Women are locked out of almost all of it. Not because men are holding some grand council meeting deciding to exclude them, because the barrier to entry is trust, and trust is gone. You don't let someone who spent years calling you toxic into your survival circle. You don't trade your labor with someone who views you as an oppressor. You don't give a spare key to your new life to the same person who burned down your old one. Exclusion is the natural consequence of betrayal, not a coordinated attack. And the state knows it's losing control. That's why digital ID, online safety bills, CBDZs, and social credit systems are being rushed out globally at warp speed. They need to lock the cattle back in the pen before the cattle figure out the fence is already down. But men saw it coming. That's why the crypto run of the last 5 years wasn't speculation, it was evacuation. Every Bitcoin a man moved to cold storage was a vote of no confidence in the system that betrayed him. Every ounce of silver, every acre overseas, every new skill learned, every private community built is another brick in a wall women will never be allowed to climb. Women are about to learn the difference between rights on paper and power in practice. You can have the right to work, but if men won't hire you, mentor you, or promote you, the right is meaningless. You can have the right to divorce and take half, but if men won't marry, there's nothing to take. You can have the right to accuse, but if every man is recording and every accusation met with time-stamped evidence, the weapon becomes useless. You can have the right to state protection. But if the state is bankrupt and men are no longer funding it with their taxes and labor, the protection is an empty promise. This is what happens when you remove male goodwill from society. Everything women were told was oppression was actually the load-bearing structure holding the whole thing up. Remove it, and the building doesn't become more free. It collapses. And the scariest part, men are thriving in the rubble. Single men have never been happier, wealthier, or healthier. Their suicide rates are dropping while women skyrocket. Their savings are growing while women drown in credit card debt. Their testosterone levels are rising from clean living and heavy lifting, while women's plummet from stress and hormonal birth control. Their brotherhoods are tighter than ever, while women report record loneliness despite having thousands of followers. Men discovered that solitude is not the same as loneliness once you remove the constant drain of female expectations. Women are now making videos asking men to come back as if men are lost puppies instead of rational actors who made a permanent decision based on irrefutable evidence. They are posting thirst traps with captions about wanting a traditional man while still voting for policies that criminalize traditional masculinity. They are demanding male provision while simultaneously celebrating independence. The cognitive dissonance would be funny if it weren't so tragic. Men see it all, and men simply decline to engage. The bear memes were the final straw that broke the camel's back. When millions of women said they would rather meet a bear in the woods than a random man, men heard the message loud and clear. You view us as subhuman threats. Cool. We will act accordingly. So when women now cry that they can't get help moving, can't get a date, can't get an electrician to show up, can't even get a response on dating apps, men respond with the same energy women gave the bear question. Sounds like a you problem. Hope the bear brings his toolbox. Winter has arrived, ladies, and this time no one is coming with a coat. The most terrifying thing for women right now is that men are not doing any of this out of hatred. Hatred would be easier to fight. Hatred still contains emotional investment. What men feel now is closer to indifference. The same indifference you feel when you walk past a burning building you have no legal or moral obligation to enter. You might feel a twinge of pity for the people inside, but you keep walking because you know the fire was started by the same people screaming for help. That is the exact emotional temperature millions of men have toward Western women in 2025. Not hate, not rage, just a calm, flat line recognition that your emergency is not our responsibility. And that indifference is spreading like wildfire because it is the most contagious mindset in human history. Once a man tastes genuine peace, no drama, no accusations, no financial bleeding, no walking on eggshells, no performative masculinity, no pretending to care about things that were designed to destroy him, he becomes an evangelist without ever opening his mouth. His life becomes the sermon. His bank account becomes the scripture. His calm demeanor in the face of chaos becomes the miracle. Other men look at him, see the difference, and quietly copy the blueprint. No leaders required, no rallies required, just individual men choosing self-preservation over self-sacrifice, and the mathematics of that choice are undefeated. Women keep trying to shame men back into the plantation with the same tired lines that used to work. If you don't date us, you're insecure. If you don't marry, you're afraid of commitment. If you record conversations, you're paranoid. If you move your money to crypto, you're a selfish bro. Every single one of those shaming tactics is now bouncing off men like bullets off Superman. Why? Because men have already experienced the worst case scenario of believing women, and we survived it. Once you've been through the fire and come out the other side with your sanity and your savings intact, the threat of being called a name loses all power. You can't scare a man who has already lost everything and discovered it was the best thing that ever happened to him. That is the black pill that women refuse to swallow. The men they spent decades trying to break actually made men unbreakable. Every false accusation that was thrown and veiled, every divorce rape that was attempted and reversed, every viral shaming campaign that backfired, every believe women policy that exposed itself as a weapon, all of it functioned like resistance training for the male psyche. The more weight you put on the bar, the stronger the muscle becomes. Women kept adding plates, convinced they were crushing men under the load. Instead, they accidentally created the strongest, calmest, wealthiest, most united generation of men the world has ever seen. Men who no longer need validation, no longer fear cancellation, no longer care about being liked, and no longer derive their identity from female approval. That is not a wounded generation. That is a forged generation. And forged steel does not bend when you cry. Women are now running the experiment in real time. What happens when you remove male goodwill from a society that was 100% built on it? The answer is coming in clearer every single day. Restaurants close, gyms close, dating apps become ghost towns, OnlyFans earnings crash as AI versions of women outcompete the real ones at a fraction of the price. Entire neighborhoods of single women sit in apartments they can't afford, while men stack crypto in low cost countries and send postcards that say, "Wish you were here. Actually, no, I don't." The state tries to fill the gap with more and more debt, more and more control, more and more surveillance, and every new restriction simply accelerates the male exodus. Look at what is happening with trades right now. Electricians, plumbers, mechanics, carpenters, all overwhelmingly male, are quietly refusing to take jobs from single women unless the price is double or triple the normal rate. Not because they coordinated on a secret forum, because each individual man ran the numbers and realized that the risk of being accused of anything while inside a woman's home now outweighs any normal paycheck. So they either say no or they name a price that makes the risk worth it. Women scream that this is discrimination. Men call it market pricing for hazard pay. And there is no law that can force a self employed tradesman to work for a price he doesn't trust at a price he doesn't like. The free market just voted, and the vote was unanimous. The same thing is happening in corporate environments. Men are no longer mentoring women. No after work drinks, no closed door meetings, no feedback that could be misinterpreted, no praise that could be weaponized later. Just cold professional distance. HR departments are suddenly discovering that when men actually follow every single policy to the letter, women stop getting promoted because promotions always required a male sponsor who was willing to take a career risk on them. That sponsor class has evaporated overnight. The glass ceiling didn't break. The ladder was pulled up. Even the dating market has become a case study in ruthless economics. The top 10% of men used to date across the spectrum. Now the top 10% are either overseas in exclusive private circles or happily single with AI companions and occasional arranged travel. The remaining 90% of men looked at the deal, provide, protect, pay taxes, raise children that might not be yours, and maybe get divorced and lose everything at 45, and collectively said hard pass. Dating apps now have ratios as high as 9 women for every one active man in major cities. Women are swiping right on the same 50 chads who are swiping right on nobody because those chads already have rotation and no incentive to commit. The rest of the male population has left the app entirely and is living better than ever. The result? A growing underclass of highly educated, financially struggling, biologically aging women who are starting to panic in real time. You can watch the 5 stages of grief play out in their content every single day. First, denial. Men are just intimidated by strong women. Then anger. Men are immature boys who can't handle a real woman. Then bargaining. I'll cook and clean if you just act like a man again. Then depression. Tearful videos admitting they can't afford rent on their boss babe salary. And finally, in tiny pockets, the beginnings of acceptance. Women moving back home with parents, leaving cities, or desperately trying to import a husband from overseas before the window closes forever. But acceptance is too late. The men who could have been negotiated with 5 years ago are already gone. The men who are left in Western dating markets are either the ones women already rejected or the ones who learned from the rejection and will never again offer commitment. There is no reservoir of good men hiding in the basement waiting for women to become traditional. Those men evolved, they adapted, they left, and they are not coming back. This is why the "where have all the good men gone" question is so hilarious to anyone who has been paying attention. The good men went where they are treated best. Some went to Southeast Asia and are living like kings on remote Western salaries while dating feminine women who are happy to see them. Some went to the gym and got shredded, stacked their money, and realized they don't need female validation to feel like a man. Some went full crypto and now have more wealth in a hardware wallet than most boomers have in their 401k. Some went monastic and found peace in minimalism, brotherhood, and God. Every single one of them looked at the Western deal, ran the numbers, and chose a better offer. The market spoke. Women lost. And the market is about to speak again. Louder. Artificial intelligence is going to accelerate all of this by another order of magnitude in the next 24 months. Every job that involves routine communication, HR, marketing, recruiting, middle management, therapy, nursing, teaching, administrative work, all overwhelmingly female, is about to be gutted by AI that does the job better, faster, and without the legal liability. The same women who celebrated when manufacturing and trades were offshored because we don't need men are about to discover what life feels like when the corporate world no longer needs them either. The pink collar recession is coming, and it will make the Rust Belt look like a minor inconvenience. Men saw this coming years ago. That's why so many of us pivoted into trades, coding, crypto, remote entrepreneurship, and skills that AI cannot easily replace. We understood that the system was preparing to discard us, so we discarded the system first. Women, on average, did not. They stayed in the jobs that were subsidized by male taxes and male risk taking, convinced the party would never end, and the party is now closing, the lights are coming on, and the men who used to pay the tab are nowhere to be found. When the layoffs hit, and they are already starting, women will turn to the state. The state will shrug and say the budget is empty because the men who used to pay 80% of the taxes are working 20 hours a week for crypto or moved to jurisdictions with 0% capital gains. The state will then do what dying empires always do: print more money, inflate the currency, and tighten the surveillance net to squeeze whatever is left. That will simply push the remaining productive men even faster into the parallel economies that are already waiting for them. Women will be left holding a bag of worthless degrees, unpayable debt, and a digital ID that tracks every purchase while limiting how much meat they can buy this month for carbon reasons. And the men they spent years telling to disappear will be on the other side of the planet, or the other side of a blockchain, or the other side of a private gym door, living lives of quiet abundance while the grid goes dark. That is the future that is already here for the men who move first. The rest are following as fast as they can sell their possessions and buy a one-way ticket. Women are starting to make videos with captions like, "I was lied to and I miss when men were men." Those videos are too late. The men they miss no longer exist in the West. They evolved into something new, something harder, something that does not negotiate with chaos, something that does not subsidize its own destruction, something that looked at the bear meme and said, "Cool story, enjoy the woods." The irony is almost too perfect. Women spent years telling men, "We don't need you," and men finally believed them. Now women are discovering they were negotiating against themselves the entire time. They won the argument and lost everything else. There will be no great reconciliation. There will be no male savior wave riding in at the last minute. There will be no mass return to the plantation just because things got hard. Men have already done the math, run the models, seen the data, and made their choice. The cost of admission back into women's lives is now higher than any sane man is willing to pay. And every day that price goes up as the risk increases and the currency devalues. Winter is not coming. Winter is here. And men brought coats. Women were told they didn't need one. And the very last illusion that is dying right now, the one women are clinging to with white knuckles, is the belief that men will eventually get lonely. That biology will drag men back to the bargaining table. That the desire for intimacy, for children, for legacy will override everything else and force men to re-engage on whatever terms women finally decide to offer. That is the final cope, and it is melting faster than the polar ice caps. Men are not getting lonely. Men are getting free. For the first time in recorded history, millions of men have zero dependence, zero debt, zero obligations, and total control over their time, money, and attention. They wake up when they want, eat what they want, travel where they want, lift when they want, and answer to exactly nobody. The male sex drive that was once used as a leash has been redirected into discipline, creation, brotherhood, and self-mastery. AI companions, travel rotations, fitness, crypto gains, and the deepest sleep of their lives have replaced the chaos that used to be called a relationship. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze because men discovered there is better juice everywhere else. Birth rates will not recover. Marriage rates will not recover. Female happiness metrics will not recover. Male happiness metrics, on the other hand, are going parabolic. The gap has never been wider, and it is widening every single day that men refuse to return to the plantation. The experiment is over. The control group, men who stayed, is miserable. The treatment group, men who left, is thriving. Science has spoken. Women are now entering the consequences phase at terminal velocity. The same women who bragged about running through dozens of bodies in their 20s are hitting the wall at 32 and discovering the men they rejected at 25 are now making 3 times more money, benching 3 times more weight, and dating 22-year-olds in Thailand who don't know the word feminism. The same women who said, "I don't need a man," are posting tearful videos from studio apartments they can't afford, asking why men won't even give them a chance anymore. The same women who celebrated divorce rape are discovering that prenups are now ironclad. Assets are in cold storage, and the men signing them have nothing in their name for a court to take anyway. There is no cavalry coming. There is no reset button. There is no grand bargain where men suddenly decide the reward is worth the risk again. That ship didn't just sail. It was scuttled, burned, and the ashes were scattered in international waters. The future is male-only economies, male-only spaces, male-only peace, and male-only abundance, while women are left holding a rainbow flag in a city with no electricity because the men who used to maintain the grid now live in compounds running on solar and Bitcoin. The future is women begging the state for crumbs while the state begs men for taxes and gets silence in return. The future is parallel societies so separate that most women will never even see the inside of one unless a male relative vouches for them, and most male relatives are done vouching. Women traded husbands for HR departments. They traded protectors for police. They traded providers for politicians. They traded fathers for the state. And now the state is bankrupt. HR is laying them off. Police won't come when they call. And politicians are too busy printing money for wars overseas to notice the country is collapsing at home. The bill has arrived, and the men who used to pay it are sipping coffee on a beach in Bali, watching the sunrise with zero plans to ever return. This is what does all of this mean for you, the man watching this right now. It means the game is yours to win, but only if you act before the window closes completely. Every day you stay plugged into the old system is another day you subsidize your own destruction. Every dollar you leave in fiat is another dollar the state will inflate away or freeze when you step out of line. Every hour you spend chasing women who view you as a utility is another hour you could have spent building the life that makes those women irrelevant. The exodus is happening with or without you, but the men who move first will own the future, and the men who wait will be locked out with the women they were too afraid to leave behind. Start recording, start stacking, start lifting, start learning skills that can't be outsourced to AI. Start building brotherhoods the state can't infiltrate. Start moving assets offshore or on-chain. Start living in reality instead of hope. The door is still open, but it is closing 1 inch per day. And once it shuts forever. Women asked for a world without male goodwill. Men gave it to them. Now the silence is the answer, and it is the loudest sound on earth. You think it can't get any darker? You think we've already hit rock bottom? Brother, we haven't even started the free fall yet. What you've seen so far is the calm before the storm, the quiet withdrawal phase, the part where men simply stopped showing up and the system didn't notice because the credit cards were still working and the tax revenue was still flowing. That phase is over. We are now entering the acceleration phase, the part where the absence becomes active demolition, where the structures women thought were made of concrete turn out to have been held together by nothing more than male willingness to keep carrying the load. When that willingness evaporates, the collapse isn't gradual. It is sudden, violent, and total. And women are about to feel gravity in a way they never imagined. Let us talk about what happens when the last subsidies disappear. Right now, there are still a few remaining pockets of male simp energy keeping certain industries on life support. There are still guys in their 20s and early 30s who grew up on Disney movies and grandmother advice who still believe that if they just work hard enough, earn enough, gym enough, therapy enough, one day a unicorn will reward them with love and loyalty. Those guys are the walking dead. They are the buffer, the thin layer of duct tape holding the fuselage together while the plane is already in a flat spin. Every year, that layer gets thinner. Every viral video by viral video, false accusation by false accusation, divorce horror story by divorce horror story, that layer peels away. And when the very last one of them finally wakes up and walks off, the mask comes all the way off. You will know the moment has arrived because three things will happen simultaneously. First, the state will attempt the biggest wealth grab in human history. They will call it gender equity reparations or closing the wealth gap or some other focus grouped euphemism. But it will be a direct tax on male assets to fund women who followed the Go Girl script and now have nothing to face the consequences. They will try to sell it as justice. Men will treat it as a declaration of war. And because men have spent the last decade moving assets into bearer instruments, hardware wallets, offshore entities, precious metals, and jurisdictions that laugh at Western court orders, the grab will fail spectacularly. The state will get pennies on the dollar while accelerating the very flight it was trying to stop. The sound you will hear that week will be millions of hardware wallets being wiped and reseated in new locations. The sound after that will be silence because the men who still had taxable wealth will suddenly have zero incentive to earn another dollar in the open. And second, the trades will go full blackout. We are already seeing the opening act. Single women calling for plumbing repairs and being quoted prices that make their eyes water. That is the polite phase. The blackout phase is when those same women will call and no one answers the phone at all. Not because every licensed tradesman quietly agreed that the liability of entering a single woman's residence now exceeds any conceivable paycheck. You will see TikToks of women standing in 3 inches of sewage, holding their phone, crying, asking why nobody will come fix her toilet. The comment sections will be pure poetry. Let the bear plunge it. Girl power includes plunger power. You got this, queen. And not a single plumber within 50 miles will take the job for any price because the risk of a viral 30-second clip ending his business is no longer theoretical. It is daily reality. Third, the cities will empty of productive men overnight, not slowly, overnight. The moment the wealth grab tax passes or the moment CBDCs go live and men realize every transaction will be tracked and throttled, or the moment the next high profile innocent man gets railroaded on television, the remaining holdouts will look at each other across private signal groups and the message will go out. It's time. Within 90 days, entire apartment buildings full of remote workers will be vacant. Within 6 months, whole neighborhoods will look like post apocalypse movie sets. The men didn't die, they just left. Some to Thailand, some to Portugal, some to Dubai, some to small towns in Idaho where the sheriff still answers to the Constitution. They took their taxes, their spending power, their skills, and their sperm with them. The only men who will remain visible in major Western cities will be the ones women already deemed undesirable. And even those men will stop participating the moment they figure out the new rules. When the last productive man leaves the city dies. Power grid degrades because the guys who maintained it now live in compounds running on solar. Grocery stores run out of meat because the supply chain was held together by male truckers who no longer drive routes that end in blue cities. Water treatment plants start failing because the skilled operators ghosted for places where their labor is respected. The women who remain will be left staring at dark traffic lights, wondering why nothing works anymore. And the answer will be brutally simple. Because the men who used to make it work finally believed you when you said you didn't need them. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud, but every man already knows in his gut. When the grid goes down and the grocery shelves are empty and the state is too broke to send the National Guard with pallets of soy rations, women will turn on each other with a ferocity that will make Lord of the Flies look like a preschool play date. Because women never needed men to protect them from men. Women needed men to protect them from other women, remove male presence entirely, and the masks come off instantly. The same women who post sisterhood memes will be throwing bricks through each other's windows over the last case of bottled water in the HOA Clubhouse. We are already seeing the preview in every female-dominated workplace: backstabbing, drama, cliques, sabotage, tears in the bathroom, HR complaints filed like mortar rounds. That is with men still in the building keeping a lid on it. Remove men completely and the lid becomes the boiling pot itself. Men are not going to ride in and save the day. That movie is never playing again. The new movie is men watching from compounds with night vision and Starlink, eating ribeyes they bartered for with a day of welding work, while the cities that demonize them burn themselves down from the inside. The new movie is men who record every interaction, carry body cameras on dates that never happen, and treat every blue city zip code like a foreign combat zone. The new movie is men who have zero emotional attachment to the outcome because they already won by refusing to play a rigged game. You think I'm exaggerating? Look at any majority female online space right now. Look at the nursing forums, the teacher forums, the HR groups, the yoga instructor Facebook groups. They are already eating their own alive, and those still have electricity and supply chains. Wait until the lights go out, and the only law is whatever warlord has the most ammunition, which, spoiler alert, will not be the women who spent the last 20 years calling guns scary metal penises. The men who prepared are not going to share. They are going to watch from a safe distance and feel exactly what a firefighter feels when he refuses to enter a burning meth lab: professional detachment. And the women who spent years bragging about how they would rather meet a bear than a man are about to meet that bear. Except the bear will be wearing Lululemon and have a ring light and a psychology degree. And it will not show mercy because mercy was a male trait that required male presence to exist. This is not revenge fantasy. This is pattern recognition extrapolated forward. Every civilization that demonized its men eventually collapsed under the weight of its own delusions. Rome, Weimar, late stage Spain, every single one followed the same script. Remove male incentive, watch competence evaporate, watch the state attempt to replace men and fail, watch the women who orchestrated it discover too late that the state was never their husband, only their John. We are just running the same play at 1000x speed because of technology and social media. The difference this time is that men have the internet and global mobility. There has never been an exodus like the one we are living through right now. Never in history have millions of productive men been able to coordinate silently, move assets instantly, and disappear to friendlier jurisdictions with a few mouse clicks. The Roman men couldn't hop on a Starlink connection and buy a beachfront condo in Bali with Bitcoin. The Weimar men couldn't quietly move their wealth to Switzerland while the Reichsmark burned. Men in 2025 can, and they are, and the scale of what is coming will make every previous collapse look like a dress rehearsal. Women are about to learn the real meaning you'll love. You wanted equality. Equality means equal exposure to consequences. Equality means no special treatment when the lights go out. Equality means no male sacrifice to fix what female voting patterns and female consumer habits broke. Equality means you get to keep the world you built exactly as you built it, without the male labor and male taxes you spent 50 years saying were oppressive. Enjoy your prize. Men are done being the unpaid security deposit on female choices. The new male prime directive is simple: preserve, protect, and provide for self and brotherhood only. Everything else is optional charity performed at gunpoint, and men are no longer volunteering for that job. The new male social contract is opt in only, and the price of admission is respect, reciprocity, and zero drama. Very few Western women can pay that price, and the number who can is shrinking daily as the culture continues to marinate them in resentment and entitlement. So when you see these tearful videos of women asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" understand what they're actually asking is, "Where did all the servants go who used to subsidize my lifestyle while I treated them like disposable utilities?" And the answer is, they woke up, cashed out, and left you with the bill. There is no negotiating this away. There is no shaming men back. There is no law that can force competence to remain where it is hated. There is only the cold reality that actions have consequences, and the consequences of 5 decades of anti male policy are now maturing all at once like a crop of poison fruit that nobody can escape eating. Men are going to watch the harvest from a safe distance, some with sadness, most with the same emotional investment they would give a nature documentary about lions taking down a lame gazelle. Sad for the gazelle, maybe, but not enough to jump into the middle of the hunt. The strong men are not coming to save you. The strong men are saving themselves, and in doing so, saving civilization by refusing to let it drag them down with it. The future belongs to the men who record, the men who stack, the men who lift, the men who walk, the men who build parallel everything. The future does not belong to the men who stay behind, hoping for a better deal from people who already showed you the deal was always rigged. If you are still plugged in, unplug now. If you are still simping, stop. If you are still participating in a system that celebrates your destruction, leave. The door is open, but it is closing. The men on the other side are not looking back, and they are not leaving breadcrumbs. There is no anger left. There is only action. Get recording, get stacking, get strong, get gone. The age of men walking away is just beginning, and it will be written about for the next 1,000 years as the moment civilization chose suicide and competent men chose life. Choose life and understand exactly what that choice now costs, because the window is not closing and the window is already halfway shut, and the frame is warping from the pressure of millions of men pushing through it at the same time. Every day you wait is another day. The exit gets narrower, the visa rules get tighter, the tax nets get wider. The CBDC testing goes live in another zip code, and another brother, quietly deletes his dating apps, wipes his phone, buys a one-way ticket, and disappears into a new life you will never be invited to join. There is no pause button, and there is no "I'll start next year." Next year, the new online safety bill will be law. Next year, the IRS will have real-time reporting from every exchange. Next year, the next high profile innocent man will be destroyed on television, and the last lingering simp in your group chat will finally type, "I'm out," and never speak again. Next year, the city you live in will be 20% more expensive, 30% more dangerous, and 50% more empty of anyone who can actually fix anything when it breaks. The men who move in 2026 will pay double what the men who moved in 2024 paid. The men who move in 2028 will pay triple and still consider themselves lucky to get out alive. The men who wait until 2030 will be standing in bread lines holding a useless degree and a digital ID that won't let them buy more than 1,800 calories per day because their social credit score dipped when they liked the wrong meme in 2027. This is not hyperbole. This is the trajectory we are already on, and the throttle is pinned. So if you're still reading this, still watching, still listening, understand something with crystal clarity. The life you have been told to want, the one where you grind 40 years, marry up, buy the house, pay the taxes, raise the kids, retire broke, and die quietly while being called toxic the whole time, is dead. That life was murdered in broad daylight, and the killers threw a parade for themselves. The only question left is whether you are going to attend your own funeral or walk out of the church before the casket closes. Because the new life, the real life, the one that is being built right now while the cities rot, is the most exclusive club ever created in human history. Entry is not bought with discipline, cash, silence, and the willingness to burn every bridge that leads back to the plantation. Once you are in for life. Once you are out forever. There is no middle ground anymore. The new life looks like this. You wake up in a place where the local women smile when they see you instead of reaching for their phone to film you. Your money is in wallets the government cannot freeze and medals the bailiffs cannot find. Your body is strong because you train with brothers who have your back instead of strangers who are waiting for you to fail a set so they can post it. Your mind is quiet because no one is screaming at you for existing. Your network is private, encrypted, and growing by invitation only. Your skills are traded for food, shelter, and loyalty instead of taxed into oblivion. Your legacy is the men you taught to be free, not the children the state claims ownership of the second they are born. Your deathbed regret list is empty because you spent your years living instead of performing. That life is real. It is happening right now. Millions of men are already living it. And every single one of them will tell you the same thing. The hardest part was not the move. The hardest part was realizing how much peace was waiting on the other side of no. No to dating Western women, and no to subsidizing a system that hates you. No to apologizing for being born male. No to carrying water for people who celebrate your destruction. No to staying in a burning house because your grandfather helped build it. Just one word: no. And the entire cage door swings open. Women are starting to feel the first cold gusts of wind from that open door. They feel it when the dating apps are empty. They feel it when the tradesman quotes her $4,000 to change a light bulb. They feel it when the restaurant is closed on Saturday night because no men are taking dates anymore. They feel it when their tax refund is eaten by inflation and the men in their office suddenly stopped offering to help carry the heavy boxes. They feel it when they walk past the new private gym that used to be a Planet Fitness, and the windows are blacked out, and the only people going in are groups of quiet, jacked guys who don't even look in their direction. They feel it, and they are starting to panic, and panic makes people dangerous. That is why the next 2 years will be the most treacherous of all. The dying system always lashes out hardest right before it collapses. Expect false flags disguised as lone wolves. Expect new laws that make recording without consent a felony while quietly exempting the state surveillance. Expect propaganda campaigns about how lonely and lost single men are, complete with cherry-picked studies and tearful experts. Expect them to try to guilt, shame, legislate, tax, and jail men back into compliance. It will not work. Because you cannot jail a man whose body is in Thailand and whose money is in Monero. You cannot shame a man who deleted Instagram and found real brothers offline. You cannot tax a man who earns in crypto and spends in cash in a country that does not extradite. You cannot guilt a man who has already watched his father, brother, and best friend get destroyed and decided his peace is non-negotiable. The system spent 50 years teaching men that compliance equals pain. Men learned the lesson perfectly. Now the system is about to fail the final exam. So if you are still on the fence, get off it. If you are still waiting for permission, stop. If you are still hoping things calm down so you can go back to the old normal, kill that hope right now. There is no going back. There is only going forward into the new world men are building, or staying behind in the old world that is already collapsing under its own contradictions. The new world has no room for victims. The new world has no room for excuses. The new world has no room for men who think someone should do something while waiting for someone else to save them. The new world only has room for men who do. Men who record, men who stack, men who lift, men who learn, men who move, men who build, men who protect the brotherhood and let the rest burn. That is the only membership list that matters anymore. So here is your final choice, spoken plainly and without fluff. You can stay and become a tax slave in a dying matriarchy that will milk you until you drop and then spit on your grave. Or you can walk away right now and join the largest, quietest, most powerful male liberation movement in human history. There is no third option. The cities are burning. The grid is flickering. The currency is dying. The women who told you they never needed you are about to need you more than oxygen and will still hate you for it. Walk away. Record everything, move everything, lift everything, earn everything, protect everything that is yours and nothing that is not. Let the bear have the forest. We are building a new one. And the only thing left to say is what every man who already made it to the other side says when he looks back at the smoldering ruins he left behind. Good luck out there. You're going to need it. So I want to hear from you right now. What did you think about everything we just went through? Do you agree that the script has flipped permanently, or do you still think there's some scenario where men go back to the old deal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No filter, no sugarcoating. I read every single one. Got that. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.